USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at usaa.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
Brooks Running reminds us that we're all powered by something. Whether it's the me-time energy of a run after a day at the office, the electrifying energy of your first marathon, or the infectious energy of a group run with your friends. No matter what energy powers you, Brooks has gear specifically designed to unleash it. So lace up and let it out. Let's run there. Visit brooksrunning.com today to learn more.
Vitamin Water Zero Sugar has great taste, zero BS, and obviously zero sugar. For those with zero room in their calendar, zero patience for slow walkers, those who get 0 hours of sleep on a Saturday night, have zero filter, zero given, and zero interest in grabbing a plain, boring water. Grab a delicious Vitamin Water Zero Sugar today.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, this is Tony Ruggiero here on The Tour Coach. Thanks for joining in and thanks for following along. It is my mission to bring you some of the best instructors, the players, mental coaches, fitness experts, everything you need to play better golf, all of the people I find fascinating that can give you information to help you in your pursuit as a teacher or as a player. It's all here on DewsweeperTV or wherever it is you get your podcast. Thanks for watching the Tour Coach podcast, and hopefully this helps you teach better, play better, and enjoy the game. All right, so joining us here on the Golf Coach Development monthly little Zoom. We've been trying to do this for a while. It's great to have him on, as well as on the Tour Coach podcast. It was on that a good while back. PGA Teacher of the Year, new award since the last time I saw you at the PGA show as it was announced. So I technically have already told you congratulations. But from right up the road from where I'm sitting at Old Palm, up at Jupiter Hills, Jason Baile. What's up, Jason?
Tony, how are you? Thank you so much for having me. I think this is such an awesome thing that you do for young coaches and coaches around any age group. Really cool give back.
I like to say younger because it makes me feel better. Like maybe, I'm not too terribly old, but I tell them circling the drain. So obviously a lot of folks, what's weird is when we started this podcast, it's been a while now. Like I didn't ever intend it to be just a lot of teachers listening. I thought I might be more entertaining to people that aren't teachers, but I was wrong. So I guess my humor works better with teachers. But anyways, it's turned into a really cool deal as well as the podcast. I know Jackson's going to field questions, and we got some questions too. But obviously, it's people that are, if you're listening to this, I always say either one, you're bored, or two, you're a golf teacher and you're really into it, or you're just one of those people that's really into getting better at the game and crazy about the game and the pursuit that it is. And so we've had some questions that were submitted and sent in. And so I'm going to just start with some of those. And kind of one of the topics go down is really the difference, or as you see it, of teaching tour players, which you teach a bunch of them, versus regular students, whether it's juniors, college players, or just the members you have at Jupiter Hills. I know you still teach a good number of those, and just like I do here at Old Palm. So kind of wanted to start is like, how do you approach? Do you treat them different? What are the differences? And then just take us through also what are some of the low hanging fruit that's out there also for whether you're a teacher or a player for trying to get better.
Yeah, well, I'll start with that. Let's start with the low-hanging fruit part of it. I was just up in Chicago doing something for Titleist, and I would, especially the young and up and coming teachers that are probably listening to this, especially if you're not like teaching full time, but you enjoy teaching and you're coming out of the shop or something, several hours a day or several hours a week, and you're just trying to kind of make sure you're not giving everybody the shanks or something, is like I would be a master at the setup stuff, at the really simple things, grip and club face matchup. None of that stuff is sexy enough to put on Instagram. It wouldn't get many clicks, but as far as like just being a master of the things that happen before a player starts swinging. We have a saying around here that nobody gets worse from setting up better, even though it may feel different to them in the beginning. But if you can match up some stuff with the grip and the club face being square and having some good tilts and bends and understanding where left elbow is versus right elbow for your average club player, you can make a lot of money doing that. You can be very popular, and you never get the the scorn of the member that says, well, I know I'm going to have to get worse before I get better. And, I changed this and, oh, I'm never going to get there. Just be really good at that simple stuff. And we call that, doing the ordinary things extraordinarily well. And getting back to, first part of your question, I run the same playbook with a member that I do with one of the best players in the world. The language sometimes a little different, and obviously the skill level's different, and the ability to make your body moves different. But I do run the same basic playbook, which is I'm looking, the player that comes in is coming to you because their ball won't fly the way they want it to. I mean, that's essentially what it is. So whether that's one of the best players in the world or one of our members at a club. And so your job is to effect some change in the simplest way you possibly can. And whenever we change something pre-swing, it's going to affect some type of change in the path or the club face or where the low point is. And then you just sit back and let that player kind of marinate in that just a second and see what the athlete's going to do before you make your second play call. And that's, been successful for me. Like I said, it doesn't warrant all the Instagram clicks or anything like that, like shallowing the club or this type of stuff. But it really is a great way to be good at your job and to get somebody to affect some change really early on in the time together.
I think, when my old mentor that I came up under, Hank, he always, I remember when he pulled me aside, I was just starting, I didn't know anything, way less than I do now. And, it was like, if you could master putting people's grips on there and how to posture them to the ball, and you could make them to make a divot in front of the ball, he's like, you'll make a good living. And at that time, making a good living was all that's all I was trying to do.
Yeah. Pay the car payment.
I had mine repossessed, this Explorer. It was a beauty. And again, I think it's interesting what you're talking about too, because I've watched, and you watch some stuff on social media, if you're travel like you do, I'm sure you peruse through things and you see stuff that's out there. And I see lots of these people that don't seem to where they'll touch a grip. And I'm like, I have people, Jackson was talking to me a little bit before we came on the air or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to jump in there and fix a damn grip if they need to fix a grip. Like you said, maybe taking the time to put their hands on there doesn't make a great reel on Instagram, but it's going to make the person in front of you better.
Oh, like we've always said, you got two connections in the game: your feet to the ground and your hands to the club, and they need to be really pretty good.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit. I'm going to go through some of these questions. And Jackson, if you've got anything or anybody types anything, please jump in. How much of elite coaching is mechanics versus psychology? I thought that was a pretty good question.
Really good one.
I think at the upper level, I think it's a lot of both, right?
Absolutely.
And I think the art is knowing when to say stuff versus not, because I think if we've done what you do and I've done, like we've probably all said the right thing at the wrong time and gotten blasted for it, and we've all kept our mouths shut when maybe we should have said something and got blasted for that too. So, so learning, but how do you distinguish the two?
I think in the beginning of that, like I know I've tried to do a better job of this in the last couple of years. I think when you first get fortunate enough to coach some players at a really high level, you're very eager to prove your worth, or that you belong, or that you got this under control. And that's when you make those mistakes, like you just said, that we've all made, where you say something that at a time you shouldn't say. It could be the greatest piece of advice in the world, right? But you just said it at the wrong time. So I've tried to get really good at asking enough questions before I open my mouth. Like, hey, you didn't like that shot. Okay. What didn't you like about it? Okay. And then, so I want to listen to that first. Well, it started too far right. Okay, great. Did you hit it solid? Yeah, it was in the middle of the face. Okay. It started too far right there. Yeah, I just don't like it starting that far right. Okay. What do you think made that happen? Well, the club face is probably pointing that way. Yeah. Okay. And then I'll back away. All right. They already answered the question that the club face was aimed too far to the right when it touched the golf ball. All right. So like, I just want to see what they will do with that information. And then I'll let them hit a couple of more balls, which is really difficult to do because you are still trying to prove your worth, and I'm going to save the day. And in reality, that's when you can go the wrong way and try. I know I did that very early on a range. I had a player that was missing it left, and I sat in my garage the night before, rolling up there on a Friday morning or something. If he misses it left, this is what I'm going to do. And I sawed an alignment rod in half, and I said, I'm going to stick it in the ground like this. I'm going to tell him to match the shaft up with it at impact. I got this thing solved. Okay, so sure enough, the next day, we get to hitting some irons, and some are going left, and I jump in there on my white horse to save the day and throw this down on the ground and say, this is what I want you to do. And he makes about 5 swings trying to do what I want to do, tosses the 7-iron back to his caddy and goes, this is going to be a great day, and walks to the putting green. And I'm like, I didn't ask enough questions. I didn't look for him to lead me to where he wanted to go. I just said, I'm really smart. Look at me. I'm going to save the day. And I've learned from that mistake. So I try really hard, especially if it's a player I've worked with for a little while. We kind of have our playbook, and we try to stay within our playbook. And if the player says something to me that's kind of out of the ordinary of things that we've talked about in the past, or plays that we've run, that's when I listen the most, is because, whoa, he just said something that I've never heard him say. Especially if you have that relationship that you've been together for a while, you've had success, and you've had your failures, and you've worked through those things. I think when they say something that's out of the playbook, that's when you should listen the most. But I just try to be a way better listener than I am somebody who's in there on my white horse.
I love that. Jackson, you got anything?
Yeah, very good. I'm curious, how often or how difficult is it to maybe push back when you have to with a good player on that playbook? Like if you do want them or need them going in a direction.
It is very difficult, especially when, and I think like the younger players, I was just thinking about that because my phone just went off from I'm sure it's a video from New Orleans, but the younger players tend to be so much more video oriented. And they'll send you, I'm sure y'all get this as well.
Yeah.
You get a swing video with no context. Like, and the world's worst thing you can do is, well, the club face looks a little open or this or that. And he goes, well, I was hitting it awesome. I just wanted to show off. So you've got to, always try to text back, well, how's the ball flying? Because they think those swings look that much different all the time, and they really don't. And they're always going to pick on the thing that they don't like aesthetically about their golf swing. And I think most of the players, they'll pick on something. So let's just say it's a, right knee shoots out on the downswing, right hip gets a little high, and they kind of, little thrust and right bend against it, and they don't like the way that looks. And so they're always trying to fix the symptom. When the takeaway in the backswing pivot, screwed up, made them become an athlete, and that was their compensation on the way down to hit a good golf shot. But they keep working on that symptom instead of actually treating the disease. And I think that's when you can kind of get in the weeds if you don't explain to the player, like, that was you being awesome. All right. You don't like your right hip jutting out and your knee shooting out there and right bending against it and the shaft got a little under and blah, blah, blah. But you had to do that because of how you pivoted on the way back or how the club moved. Like that was you being awesome. So embrace the fact that you were awesome. All right. Let's fix the actual disease. And I bet you the symptom gets better.
Yeah.
Sure. I think that's one of the, people always ask me like, how do you get better at that? A lot of that's just experience, right? Like,
oh, I remember. I remember going into Todd Anderson's office when I was at Sea Island years and years ago, and I was working on my coaching game, and I knocked on Todd's door and I was like, "Can I talk to you?" He's like, "Sure." And I said, "Hey, like, what do I need to do to get better?" And he was like, "Jason, I've seen you teach. Like, you just got to do it more."
Yeah.
It wasn't like, well, you need to do this more, you need to do that. It's like you just have to do it more. And there is no substitute for that. No substitute for those reps that you need in order to find out to find your own voice as a coach and to find out the tools that work in certain situations and the ones that you think are really cool that never seem to work. I know I've had these wonderful, awesome swing thoughts that I thought would be great for a player, and they sounded cool, and even the player would go, "Yeah, that sounds awesome," and then it never works. And so
Yeah.
you have to get rid of those, no matter how cool they sound.
Well, too, and I think you have to be who you are as a coach too, right?
Absolutely.
And who you are as a teacher. And I think as a teacher coming up, it's easy to get caught in fads. Like I'm sure we've all done it. And I remember when TrackMan came out, and I got fired by a good player, and I was like, well, shit, I got to become TrackMan Maestro or something, right?
Yeah.
But shit, like I can't teach like that. That doesn't fit my personality. And I think that's a good lesson for players. Need to play to their personality, and they can't try to be somebody they're not, and teachers can't be somebody they're not either. You gotta figure out within your skill set what you do that's great. Like you were talking about the player, like that's what makes you awesome. Whatever it is, it's your gift that's great at it. You need to figure out how to do that and how to grow, but stay true to who you are.
And I 100%. I think a way that I try to do that, especially early on with a player, whether it's a PGA Tour player or a 12 handicapper at the club, is they're expecting you in that early on part of a get together. Don't even call it a lesson, just a session together, get to know you type of thing. They're expecting you to tell them what's wrong. All right. And then show them how to fix it. And I try to always lead with explaining to them what their superpower is. Like this is awesome. And they go, really? And you're like, no, this is your superpower. Like, I can't believe how well you load into your right side into your backswing. Like that's elite level. If I'm talking to a 10 handicap, that's what I like to see the best players in the world do. Or that's my preference for how players should move. Or man, I love where your club gets at the top. Or I love anything that you can come up with that puts them in a non-defensive way into going, wow, like I just had somebody who is pretty good at what they do tell me I have a superpower.
Right.
And you want to try to make sure that as a coach, you don't steal their superpower. Because if you go messing with what made them a PGA Tour player or what makes them a 10 handicap for that matter, it could be they could have an open club face and flash it really good and have great timing, and you just go, wow, that's a superpower. Let's make sure that your tempo always stays really good, because if it gets fast, your superpower of how you square the face might go out the window.
Mm-hmm. I think too, like as a player and teachers and players, looking at like what's the goal are you trying to get out of it, right? Like, if we use the example of an open face person that say the guy's a tour player or a 5 or 6 handicap at your club, it's like, well, I'm trying to win my club championship. Well, is that open club face why you don't win the club championship? Or maybe you're a shitty bunker player, right? Or maybe
exactly.
you're not, or whatever it is, right? Like
or don't play well enough under pressure. You need to develop some skills to deal with pressure better.
Right. And I think, like you talked about, that's part of the getting to know a player, right? And whether it's and I don't know that enough teachers and enough players and this goes for like somebody listening that's a 12 handicap that wants to get better. Like, man, like the more you communicate with your teacher and the more you get to know each other, the better everybody can work together and help each other, right? Like if you've had those lessons, I'm sure, where you tell the person something and they don't speak, and an hour goes by and they've said like 4 words, and you're like, well, shit, I think I did all right. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they didn't give me any feedback, And you're like, I mean, and you show them a video and you're like, here, you see this? And they just go, it's like, hey, I'm the wrong guy probably for you. Right? Like, so, but I think that's important, getting to know your student, and what you talked about, listening. I think instead of just trying to tell everybody everything you know about the golf swing in the first 57 minutes of the lesson, like I would say I talk way less now in a lesson than I ever have.
I definitely talk way less about golf.
Yeah.
I talk more about fishing or who won the baseball game, but
right. Yeah.
way less about golf.
About getting to know them. Jackson, you got more. You're on a roll, buddy.
Hey, it's Paris. I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and Auto Camp, I just slept under them. Picture me serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. Becoming the most valuable sports franchise in the world doesn't happen without risk. A man who's willing to bet it all, and the players ready to make their own luck. America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys, is the story of the 1990s Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones's impact on NFL history. Featuring interviews with iconic 90s players and more. Watch America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys, August 19th, only on Netflix.
What have been some successful tactics that you've used to mentor young coaches that work with you?
Oh, that's a great one. I love that. So let me kind of use a story to kind of explain that, because it was extremely meaningful to me. And I'm not on your podcast or a national award winner or coach some of the players I coach unless this happens to me. So it's as recent as 2016. I win a little PGA Chapter Teacher of the Year award. Come back to the club as my first one. I was all excited and everything. And I had a member who was a very smart man, and he was coming to his lesson. He congratulated me. I said, thank you very much. Means a lot. And he said, you need to start working on your brand. And I went, ooh, because I got a little cringy for me, because I was like, I'm going to have a logo and a catchy nickname, and that's just not me. And that's not that there's anything wrong with people that have that. But I didn't know how to formulate that brand concept. I'd never thought of it that way. And he said, well, you do know what a brand is, don't you? And I had no good answer for him. Like I said AT&T, Coca-Cola, like I had nothing. And the statement that I'm getting ready to say changed the entire trajectory of my career. He said, a brand is a promise that what you do works. And that hit me in the head. Like, it was like, I knew what I did as far as like, yeah, I'm a golf coach. Yeah, I try to make people better. And I'd had some juniors go to college or something like that, but I was coaching no tour players or anything like that. And I had to take inventory of myself as a coach, and I had to kind of break down as an exercise, like what it was that I actually believed in. And it was at a time where I think, like all young coaches, we don't think we know enough. And so we know we don't know enough, but we're getting away with it because people like to be around us, and we, they come to us because we're fun or whatever, but we think we're not good enough to solve big problems. And so then you go on the certification circus and you get every certification that you can. You come back with all this knowledge. So you actually have more knowledge, but you're actually a worse teacher for a while and a worse coach because you don't actually know how to apply those tools. Okay, but it's a necessary part of growth, okay, is to go from I don't have enough to now I feel like I've got more, but I don't know how to use it. And then you whittle back down that to the actual things that you believe in and the things that you know work. All right, because you've been through the trial and error and use the cadavers every now and then to figure out what works. And then you actually can do the exercise that I was able to do, which was come down to kind of my framework. And so because I went through all of that and I've gone through imposter syndrome of walking on a PGA Tour range for the first time and going, holy shit, am I really supposed to be here? And what if my guy hits it bad? What am I going to do? And you're out there and then you get through that and then you find that your framework works for you. And my framework's not going to work for every player, but my framework's going to work for the majority of the players. I feel like that obviously the ones that I've been successful with, it's not because of me, it's because of the partnership that we've created together, the playbook that we've created together. So I think, like, speaking to younger coaches or developing coaches, it's like, be okay with not knowing enough. Then be okay when you screw up because you know too much and you don't know how to apply it, because that's when the most growth is actually going to take place in your career, when you're forced to whittle it down to the things that you really know are foundational principles for how you want to coach.
No, I agree. I think that that learning curve is hard for people, right? And I
Because we
think
don't like to fail. We don't like to screw up, you know?
and I think it's you know, I think the challenge is to keep learning after you are successful. I mean, it gets harder because the demands on your time, I think, are more, obviously, with your schedule, and it gets harder to do that. But I think you've always got to carve time out. And you know, my philosophy has always been to try to surround myself with people that are way smarter than me at things that I'm not worth the shit at. You know, like, and you develop those relationships. Obviously, like for me, it's people like Colby that's coming out here tomorrow. We're going to teach a few hours together and things like that people you have access to. And I think is whether you're a teacher or a player, if you keep surrounding yourself with people that are vested in you and great at what they do, you got a chance to get better.
Yeah, and to your point, I think I've been doing some reflecting here recently, because you do get yourself in, you know, you get better at your craft. More people want to, you know, come see you or whatever, and you end up, you know, running around and trying to please everybody. And I've noticed on some, you know, some plane rides or some hotel room beers that, like, there's some places where I've got some weak areas, and I'm like really excited about this summer, because I'm going to shut down some of, I'm going to try to, you know, grab my schedule back and own it a little bit more, because I know that I've got some growing to do. I'm not finished growing. So there's some places and some people that I've already identified that I need to, you know, I need to work, I need to be able to discern stats better. It's one of my, I feel like, my weak spots. I need to be able to develop practice plans around the stats that are going on. I need to be more creative in the practice plans that I work with a player. You know, there's some performance stuff that that I want to go down a little bit of the road with, to be a better, just to be a better coach, you know, get the X's and O's out of it, of the golf swing, and get more into the relationship with the player and how do I push them in the correct direction. So I'm excited about that, you know, because I don't really want to watch another video on how to shallow the club. I want to find these areas that I know I'm weaker at than I want to be, so that I can exist within the ecosystem better.
If I didn't watch another video on shallowing or another video on front post loading, I wouldn't have to. I mean, I'd be all right. Hell, I mean, this would be great. Be a good world we live in.
Yes.
And you know, another thing, and I'd like your comments on this. I had a young guy once, and I still do this every year. But like, I think it's really healthy at the end of the year or whatever. I think it's easy to do at the end of the year, but like to sit down and try to write down and identify the things that you think are important in the golf swing, especially if you're an up and coming teacher, right?
Yeah.
Like, now that sounds like super easy, but it's way the hell harder than it sounds. Like when you start having to really write it down on a piece of paper or a note in your phone, like the things that you think are important and that you believe and your preferences, like it's way harder. But I think I still do that every year. And I like to flip back through past years and see, you know, and then you kind of identify what's forced you to change a little bit of this or a little bit of that. But I think I think it's good as players to do that too. I think I always try to have this podcast be able to help you whether you're teaching or playing. But I think as a player, to identify the things that you think are important and the things that you're good at is healthy as well.
Yeah. What's your recipe? I mean, that's what I kind of call it from a player standpoint. It's like every player's got their own recipe of when they play well and how they move and how they swing. And do they, you know, take a week off or a week before a golf tournament and play more golf playing into it? Or do they take a week off and work technique stuff or fundamental stuff and hit more balls? You know, what's the recipe? Every player should have that recipe and realize, like, you know, this is what helps me actually play better. And when I tried this way, it didn't help me play better. So, and to your point about the golf swing stuff, it probably would have been, you know, some grandiose, huge list of mine 10 years ago. And as I've watched, you know, better and better players and seen club players improve, gosh, the list is actually getting smaller and more manageable, at least for me.
You're tuned into Auto Intelligence, live from Auto Trader, where data, tools, and your preferences sync to make your car shopping smooth.
They're searching inventory.
Oh, yeah.
They find what you need.
They're gonna find it.
You can make a budget for your wallet to help you succeed. Pricing's precise and true.
So true.
It's smarter car shopping.
Ooh.
Just for you.
Oh, it's just for you. Find your next ride at autotrader.com. Powered by Auto Intelligence.
Walmart Business is in the business of saving you time, money, and hassle. Whether your business started in a garage or is a garage, Walmart Business has the tools to help you get where you're going. Tools like free shipping, multi-user accounts, and just about any item your company needs.
Even a double filtration cyclone dust collector.
Yep, even that.
Sweet.
Walmart Business. It's the Walmart you love. Now for your business. Learn more at business.walmart.com. Terms apply.
No question. How do you determine how much data or deep dive stuff a player can handle? And I think that goes across because everybody's different. We've had tour players that don't want much, want you to keep something real simple and give them a thought or feel. And then you got guys, like I always say, there's no way he would never ask me, but no way I could teach Bryson. I'd have to go jump off the top of him. But like, you know, but you get the same, like you got guys that are an engineer that are, you know, that's a 15 handicap and he's going to want more than a tour player. So it runs across all skill levels. How do you determine how much you go into with the student? And you have any kind of hard or fast rules for that, or you just kind of feel it out?
Yeah, I think like I would use, let's just say we're using a launch monitor, for instance, and it's a member. Okay. And we've got he wants to hit a draw and we've got a 6-degree club path to the left. Okay. And one of my fun ways of doing this, if you can get away with it, because it's actually really, really cool, is you say, okay, we'll give you 6 balls. I'm going to, you know, you take an average club path, 6.5 to the left or something. Okay. And you say, what shot shape do you want to hit? And they say, well, I really want to draw it. I've always wanted to draw it, but I always hit this pull cut. So, okay, well, where would a draw start in relation to the target line? Oh, it would start to the right. Okay. Could I move your hands on the club a little bit, set you up a little bit different? And I'd like for you to take the next 6 balls. And the only intent you have after we've gotten our setup stuff is you need to make this ball start to the right. And I'll just throw launch direction up there. And I would give them ask them to create a challenge point. So I say, okay, I got 6 balls. How many do you think you can start? He goes, I can start 3. Great, go ahead. Okay. Turn it on, let him do his 6 balls. He starts 4 to the right. Okay. And you go back and you flip club path back up there, and lo and behold, 5 out of the 6, the club path now moved to the right. And you've only hit 12 balls. His original 6 and your 6 with the changes on it. That's when I throw club path up there. Go, okay, did you realize you just moved your club path this much with the intent of starting the ball to the right and a couple of setup changes. You go, oh, right. Okay, well, invariably, several of those shots actually went to the right and had a little curve to them. The rest of them kind of hung out there to the right. So which direction do you think the ball should curve? Okay, to the left. All right, I'm going to give you new 6 balls. How many do you think you can start to the right and curve to the left? And they will have they'll hit 3 good draws out of those 6 balls, and you've gone nowhere into technique. And so I call that lesson an intent lesson. They didn't have the right picture in their head. They weren't set up properly. They didn't have the club face and grip matched up or whatever. And they just created the rest of it out of intent. You're only going to get away with that with certain players. The engineer guy that you're talking about, he's going to want to know, what vertical swing plane is while we're talking about that. So you're going to have to give him a little bit different part of that. He's going to want to know, why did it do this? And that's when I would pop on the video and go, well, when it came down, the first several times, it's running down your lead arm. And when you came down the last several times, it's working down your trail arm or closer to your trail arm. Then you can kind of give them what they want, spoon feed them what you want. But I always tell everybody, technology is a scoreboard. It's not a teaching machine. It's just saying we were 6 degrees to the left on your first 6 balls, and now we're a couple of degrees to the right. We were down at halftime, and now we're leading.
Good analogy there. Jackson, you got anything else?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Where are you walking? Are you like on a stroll doing this?
Yeah, I am on a stroll. It's nice outside, man.
My God, first time doing the podcast on a walk.
That's right. You can go into as much detail as you want or keep it as simple as you want, but what would your superpowers be as a coach, and are they different for elite players to your club golfer?
That's a good one. You asked me to talk about myself. I would say that
you don't have to be shy either. Like, this is about you.
Well, the way I grew up, my environment, which lots of environments, obviously we all know, produce certain characteristics and things. So, I grew up with a father as a high school football and basketball coach. I never wanted to do anything else but coach college basketball from the time I was 8 years old until I found golf and decided that was what I was going to do. And so I've always, I took a lot more pleasure out of calling plays than running plays. So I would make my brothers, because my dad had access to every piece of gear you could possibly have access to. We had full pads when we were 9 years old. So I'd make my brothers dress up in full gear and play one-on-one football against each other while I called plays on the sidelines. I don't know if you know it or not, but there's not too many plays you can call in one-on-one football. But I enjoyed calling timeout and bringing one of them over there and giving them a pep talk and saying, this is what I want you to do on the next play. I had a clipboard and a tie and everything. So I enjoy what I call play calling. I enjoy like walking up to the player and saying, hey, look, this is what I need you to do here. All right. I need you to run this play a couple of times. Then let's talk about it. All right. This is what I need you to do. What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? And that relationship building to me is, I guess, my superpower. I mean, I'm smart enough to know that, these guys are, and ladies are my friends to a certain extent. All right. Like, I enjoy getting a beer with them and going to dinner with them. And I enjoy talking sports with them. I enjoy getting to know their families. I'm not naive enough to think that I'm irreplaceable. So I know that at some point I'll probably be replaced by most of them. And I'm now comfortable with that, because I know that the direction and the way that the caring that I'm trying to put forth within the relationship is geared the right way. So I'm a little easier on myself if I were to be fired, because it's like, hey, it wasn't a great match, or hey, you made some mistakes. You should have gone here. You should have pushed harder there. I think really good coaches and just, good human beings are reflective. So I try to be that as much as I can. So to answer the question, I think the superpower to me has been a whole lot more about building the relationship, earning the trust, than it has been about, I'm the world's greatest backswing coach,
Good. Jackson, one more. You got anything?
I'm all tapped out. That was really good, Mr. Baile. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Damn, calling you Mr. Baile. Shit.
I'm gonna punch him in the arm next time I see him.
I don't think I've had a beer with him yet, so it's got to be.
Yeah, that's it. That's Jackson's rule. He did say that. I'll give him that.
Is it really? Is that your rule? I didn't even know you had rules, Jackson.
Yeah, that's my rule at the club. If I can't call them by their first name until I have an adult beverage with them. So
I'm gonna end this with this question, because this question that came in is absolutely hysterical for me, because I can answer this. Do you have to like the people you teach? I just thought that was humorous. I just thought it was funny for some days.
Oh, that's a great one. No, that's absolutely a great one. I don't think you do. I don't think they better know you don't. Yeah.
Especially if they're a member.
I have a couple that like, as I reflect on players I haven't been successful with, and it's not that I don't like them. And I think this is where like the runway with a player, I think, so important, is while I probably wouldn't want to have a beer or go to dinner with them, meaning that I don't know that we have that much in common outside of me helping you try to play better. But I think that's the real challenge. It's, Tony, it's easy for you and I and Jackson to coach Southern boys, probably, and I
tried it one time with a West Coast lib. It didn't work.
It didn't work. Yeah. And so I think
he played good, but I couldn't handle it.
Yeah. And then I think at the same time, like, it's one of those things that, certain nationalities too, right? It's, trying to figure out, if you're going to be a well-rounded coach, trying to figure out how to operate in a different environment, even though this is not my favorite situation. I'm probably going to get fired in a month, but can I figure out how to learn from it so that I'm more equipped the next time? Because most of us are not in positions to turn down great players. We can't turn down the members at our club. Okay, that's a good way to get escorted off property at some point. So, you have to learn to get to be a slightly different coach, and it's like no different if you were a option, offense coach, but you had to be on the staff of the air raid offense. You'd have to figure out a way to bring some skills to that. And I think that's growth there. To answer the question, no, you don't have to like them, in my opinion.
I thought it was a good question, though.
It's a great question.
I wanted to hear the answer to that. I enjoyed that. Yeah, I agree. I think you got to, I don't think you have to like them. I do think to have long-term success with a professional player, long-term, not a season or whatever, I think you got to have some affection for each other, because it's too tough of a business. It's too hard.
You got to have a commonality, whether whether you like whether you're SEC football fans or Miami Heat basketball fans, or your two teams hate each other and you just like ribbing each other about it.
Yeah, absolutely. That was awesome. Jackson, thanks for putting this together. Jason, thanks for being able to do this with us. I appreciate it. I know you're busy as well. And best of luck the rest of the season. I'm sure we'll catch up soon. Jackson, any more questions at all before?
All set, T-Ball. Thank you, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, thank you guys very much for thinking of me with this, and kudos to what you're doing, spreading the good word about coaching, and I think that's awesome. Great give back, exactly what good coaches should be doing. So appreciate all you do with that, and I know the rest of your following do as well.
Jason, thanks so much. We'll look forward to catching up soon.
You got it. All the best, guys.
Thanks, guys.